Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm Todd Hulleberger with Senior Care Michigan. I'm going to start off today by telling you a little bit about Senior Care. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Senior Care of Michigan is located in Davison. Do you guys know where Davison is at? Yeah. Well, we typically travel to do these educational workshops, and we travel all the way from the Ohio border all the way up into the Upper Peninsula. On a normal year, Senior Care Michigan would do about 150 of these educational workshops. Senior Care Michigan has been around for over 20 years. I've been with Senior Care for about 16 years. So we get to see a lot of people, we get to help a lot of people. We're committed to giving you accurate information. You have more options than you realize when it comes to retirement planning. And I'm here to help you guys open your eyes up and show you what options that you have. So going forward, you can make better educated decisions during these retirement years. As I'm talking up here, I'm going to be pointing at different topics. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. We're going to be answering questions. I'm going to be setting up here, and you're going to see me shaking. I have tremors, chronic tremors all the time. About 11 years ago, I had a double lung transplant. Have you guys ever known anybody that's had a transplant before? Any type of transplants?
No.
Yeah. Well, I had to have a double lung transplant because I have cystic fibrosis. Have you guys heard of that before? Yeah. Yeah, some people know what it is. But, I have to explain myself a little bit because of the tremors. I take about 40 pills a day, and tell you what, I'm just happy to be here. I really don't care about the tremors. But so this whole workshop is going to be geared on these last two words right here, asset preservation. So I'm not here to show anybody how to become a multimillionaire in the stock market. I'm here to show you guys how to hang on to what you have. So let's get into the first bit of this. There's a few topics we're going to cover today. The key differences between wills and trusts. We'll cover that a little bit. How to use IRA rules to maximize benefits. There's been some changes in 2020 with some IRA rules. I'll cover that with you guys a little bit. How to minimize or avoid unnecessary losses should you or a loved one end up in a nursing home. How many people saw this on the flyer that came in the mail, or you saw it in the newspaper, and you thought, hey, I need to learn how to protect my assets from a nursing home? How many people came here for that?
I did.
Absolutely. That is a huge topic right there. What we find out is that most people that attend our workshops, this is a topic that gets left out of their estate plan, their financial plan. They never think about this because they're never going to go to a nursing home. But as you see, as we're going to go along and talk about it, nursing homes can wipe people's assets right out. And so we're going to cover this in detail. I think it's very important. We're going to learn the differences between Medicare and Medicaid and how to get continued growth through the term of indexed annuities. You're going to find using certain types of annuities, you can protect your assets from a nursing home. And I'll cover that with you guys today. We're going to talk a little bit to start with about wills and trusts. Now, I want to let you guys know that we have an elder law attorney that we work with. We have estate planning attorneys right here in our office. And if there's any legal questions today during the workshop, we will get the attorney to step in and answer the questions after the workshop is over with. And I'll get you guys a one-on-one consultation. So everybody that attends the workshop can get a free one-on-one consultation with the attorney to ask some legal questions. How many people in here have a will? All right, we got a few people that have a will set up right now. And what's the purpose of your will? Why'd you get one, sir?
I just want everything to go to my kids.
Yeah. You want your assets to go to whomever you decide, your son, your daughter, your church, whatever you want. But when you have a will, the first place it ends up is in probate. Probate can be a lengthy process, and beyond that, it can be a very costly process. I'm sure some of you have been through it. I know that when my grandmother passed away, that her estate ended up in probate. And there was supposed to be 5 different beneficiaries receive something from my grandmother's estate. It drug out for 2 years because what happened was one of the beneficiaries didn't like what the will said. And so if they don't like what the will says, they can contest it. And you guys probably wouldn't believe this, but money makes people funny, right? Probably not in your guys' families, I'm sure. Probably just in mine. But, you know, when there's a few dollars involved, a side of somebody comes out that you've probably never seen before. So a will is easily contested. You know, now when that happened with my grandmother's situation, that was 20 years ago. Today, nobody on this side of the family still talks to anybody on this side of the family because of what they went through. So we want to avoid that situation if possible, and it is absolutely possible. But the typical cost to run an estate through probate, it's usually around, you could call it 3 to 5%. If you had a $100,000 home and you had to run it through probate, which you would if you didn't have it set up properly, it might cost you about $3,000 in fees, inventory filing fees, attorney fees, court costs. It can be fairly expensive. The time that it's going to be tied up is going to be about 5 months to a couple of years. So in some cases, up to 5 or 6 years. On the flip side, you could set yourself up a trust. And I know a few of you have a trust set up. So what's the purpose of a trust? Can anybody tell me why they would set up a trust?
To avoid probate.
Absolutely. You want to avoid probate. You want to avoid the headache with your family that my family went through. My family went through a big mess. And so had my grandmother set up a trust, things would have been cut and dry. You know, more than likely, they would have been cut and dry. But trust, the biggest thing is there's no probate involved. They're difficult to contest. And in a trust, you always appoint a successor trustee. In a will, you appoint an executor. So a successor trustee and executor, they have the same kind of job title.
I got a question.
Yes.
Who would my successor trustee have to be? Could it be one of my kids
Your,
or mine?
yeah, who would your successor trustee have to be? Successor trustee is whoever you want to appoint to administer your estate when you're gone.
So it wouldn't have to be one of my kids.
It does not. It could be an attorney, okay? The attorney in our office is the trustee of many trusts. You know, it's probably best if it's a family member because although they could be paid out of the trust to be the successor trustee, often the inheritance is enough. You know, attorneys cost money, so if you can make it your son or daughter, you can make it a combination. You could put your son and daughter as co-trustees of the trust. But, so there are two types of trusts out there today. People get confused. Oh, do I got a living trust? Do I got an irrevocable trust? I'm going to tell you the differences between the types of trust. And most people that come to the workshop have trust number one, a revocable living trust. But there is a second trust, and it's an irrevocable trust. A revocable trust gives you complete control over your estate. While you're alive, you are the trustee of your trust, and you have total control to do anything that you want. You can sell your home, buy properties, you can spend all your money, you can do whatever you wish with your own revocable living trust. When you pass away, that trust becomes irrevocable and no one can change it. You could have an irrevocable trust. And irrevocable trusts are for a few different reasons. And I want to tell you guys that my numbers up here are a little off. They need to be changed. Numbers are always changing. Okay, so the Medicaid numbers and things that I'm going to cover throughout this slide may be different by the time you guys need to get assistance or anything like that. So irrevocable trusts are used for estate taxes. Okay? Estate taxes is somebody with a large estate. They pass away and leave it to their beneficiaries. Right now, the estate tax in 2021 is $11.7 million in individual and just over $23 million for a married couple. So often when we come to the workshops, people raise their hand and say, well, how much is inheritance tax are my kids going to pay? Or how much gift tax? Death tax, inheritance tax, and gift tax, they're all the same thing. And unless you have an estate over $11 million as an individual or $23 million as a married couple, you don't have to worry about inheritance tax. There are other types of tax, and we'll talk about that as the workshop progresses a little bit. But if someone had a large estate, and it's way over the 5.5 million, but in 2025, they're going to reset the estate tax laws. So it's set to go back down to 5 million in 2025. And beyond that, we really have no idea. In fact, I guess that could actually change too. It's used in some Medicaid planning situations. So sometimes the attorneys will put together an irrevocable trust, title assets into it, to protect from nursing homes, to do some pre-planning is what they're doing. So other reasons to use an irrevocable trust, it's used in Medicaid planning situations to do some potential pre-planning. If nursing homes ever become an issue, you could have done pre-planning and title assets into the name of that irrevocable trust, also sometimes referred to as a castle trust or an asset protection trust. Sometimes attorneys will use that. That's nothing more than an irrevocable trust. An irrevocable trust can also be used in some VA cases. So when I have veterans that need assistance with VA disability, we can use an irrevocable trust to help acquire the benefit. Has anybody heard of VA aid and attendance? No. You know what is amazing? I'm going to tell you guys what VA aid and attendance is, but what's amazing is that we can go down to Adrian, Michigan, or Tecumseh, or any of them areas, wherever. It doesn't make a difference. We can go up to Escanaba in the UP. And people have no idea what aid and attendance benefit is. So it's a benefit that's available for veterans or widows of vets, as long as the veteran has served more than 90 days during active wartime, been honorably discharged. There is a potential that they could qualify for this benefit to help with in-home care, assisted living, or for nursing homes. And a little bit later in the slide, I'll talk a little more about the VA aid and attendance benefit, but we can help create a veterans trust to acquire the benefit. So we have a VA specialist right here in our office that we work with. And so if you guys, we go along and you have questions about VA aid and attendance, I have somebody, Mark, that I'll put you in touch with. And he will be able to assist you and guide you in the right direction on if you would qualify for this benefit. So it's a wonderful thing. So a lot of people ask about ladybird deeds. Ladybird deed is a deed that avoids probate. It's a way to pass your real estate to one or multiple beneficiaries when you pass away. And often, people talk to their neighbor or their attorney and he says, yeah, you should get a ladybird deed. It's a very inexpensive way to go. Ladybird deeds can work in certain situations, but to be honest with you, you should probably speak with the attorney to find out if a ladybird deed is right for you. You know, I don't want to tell you if it's right or if it's wrong, but ladybird deeds are a transfer on death deed that avoids probate. Does anybody know what funding a trust is? No. Often people don't. So funding a trust is the most important part of having a revocable living trust. Besides your signature, signing it, making sure that it's legal documents, you have to fund it. So when you leave your attorney's office and you have this binder and this big folder and you've signed all these paperwork, the work is not done yet. You have to fund your trust. There's documents in there that you'll take down to your bank and you'll give to your bank. You'll have to call insurance companies, life insurance companies, maybe insurance companies if you have annuities, and change the ownership or the beneficiary information to the trust being the owner of it. So many times we've sat down with clients and they'll say, hey, can you have your attorney just take a glance at my trust? So often we will bring in the attorney just to take a look at the trust to make sure we're well-rounded here, we've got everything taken care of. And you'll find out that people have not funded their assets properly into their trust. If you don't fund your assets into your trust, what do you think happens to it when you die and you didn't put your home into your trust? Where does it end up?
Would that go to probate?
Probate. And don't we want to avoid probate if possible? Because we want to avoid the attorney fees and the lengthy time and the whole process that probate, yes. So your trust did not do what it was supposed to because it wasn't funded properly. I can tell you, the attorney was telling me the other day, he said about 95% of the people that he gets to look at their trust and make sure it's funded right, he finds a problem. And it might be something so simple to fix, it doesn't cost the people anything. He points it out, they take it, they fix it, or he helps them fix it, and it saved a lot of headache. Yes?
I have an IRA. Is that something I want to put into my trust?
No, you don't want to put, in most cases, you do not want to put your IRA into your trust. You can't retitle the IRA in the name of the trust. What you will do is make sure your kids are direct beneficiaries on your IRAs. Okay? A trust is a non-living entity. You don't retitle an individual retirement account in the name of the trust. Put your direct beneficiaries on there, and it will avoid probate, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could I ask one more question?
Yes.
If I were to have a house right now that's funded into my trust, and I sold that, would I have to title my new house into the trust as well?
Yes, good question. So the question is, if I sold my old home, do I have to title my new home in the name of the trust? And the answer is yes. Often somebody will get a trust done 5 years ago, and last year they sold their principal residence and they bought a condo, they retired down in Florida, whatever. They need to get a deed deeding that new property to their existing trust. And that is another thing that gets left out of trusts often, is people buy property after they've established their trust, and they get left out and they end up in probate. So you guys, after this workshop, I'll be around to answer questions about different topics and get a little more specific with you guys and gals. But for now, there is a green sheet that pops up here. And if you guys would like to get more information about how to protect your assets with a revocable living trust, you can check that box, and myself or the guys in my office, I have senior planning specialists here that will assist you in getting out additional information to answer questions on these topics. So this is the top 5 concerns of retirees. Number 1, safety of principal. If you guys invest $100,000, how much money do you want to lose? Nothing. But most of you out here have your money in some type of stock market portfolio. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds. So you're telling me one thing, but yet you're doing another. Number 2, outliving their retirement funds. We're finding out today that a lot of people are living to 80, 90 years old, and they have to have enough money to last as long as they do. So that's a big concern. People don't have the pensions like they used to. People retired from General Motors and they had a pension that would last their lifetime. Now people are relying on their 401ks that they saved, and they have to make sure that 401k, when they retired, has enough in it to make it as long as they do. Guaranteed income for life. Chronic illness, long-term care stays. As you guys are getting older, you're going to see more friends and family end up in nursing homes. And you're going to realize that it is terribly expensive. So you start to think about it. Well, what if I end up in a nursing home? Does my husband have enough money to live? Do I have enough money to live if he ends up in a nursing home? So it starts to become a concern as you age. When you're first retiring, you're not thinking about this kind of stuff. But you guys out here that are, 80, 85, you've seen some of this happen to your friends and family. And now you're starting to think about it. Make sure your spouse has enough assets to live on after you pass away. Yeah, we want to make sure that our husband or wife, that they're taken care of when we're gone. So I'm going to talk real quickly about the Secure Act that came into play in 2020, which means that, well, how many of you here have IRAs? Okay, several of you have IRAs. So an IRA is an individual retirement account. An IRA could have been your 403B from work, your 457 if you worked for the state or county, 401k. Any type of qualified money is what we're talking about when we're talking about using the Secure Act or taking your required minimum distributions. When you used to reach 70 and a half, the old rules said when you reached 70 and a half, you had to take a minimum distribution. It was about 3.65% you would have to draw off from your IRAs at 70 and a half. And there's several of you out here shaking your heads that yes, that's what you were doing. Well, now you do not have to draw a minimum distribution until you're 72 years old. So they did you a little bit of a favor there. But what they didn't do your beneficiaries any favor. So now you guys can wait till you're 72 to take minimum distributions, which is nice. But when you pass away and you leave the money to your son or your daughter, not your spouse, but when you leave it to your son or your daughter or your niece or nephew or whomever, they can no longer stretch out that IRA for their lifetime. They used to be able to do that. It used to be really nice. You'd pass away, leave $100,000 to your son, and he could take payments off from it for 30 years. And the IRS would allow them to do that. And the money would continue to grow, and it was wonderful. Today, what happens is they have to draw the money by the 10th year. So in the 10th year, they have to take all the money out of the IRAs. And why do you think that is? Why would they do that? Tax money. Absolutely. Uncle Sam wants to get his tax dollars. In your generation, which most of you out here in the baby boomer generation, you have the largest amount of wealth in history. So there's going to be the largest amount of wealth from your generation to my generation, and they want my generation to hurry up and pay all the tax dollars on it. Yes?
Do I have to take my RMDs?
Yes. At 72, you have to take distributions. If you have a Roth IRA, there's no tax liability, there's no minimum distributions. But on a traditional IRA, yes, you have to take distributions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can do with to stretch out your IRA to your beneficiaries. Even though you can only leave it to them over 10 years, I'm going to show you something that probably nobody else is showing you. Well, one thing is, how long do you guys think inherited money lasts? If we take a group of people from 20 years old to 60, and it makes no difference how big the inheritance is, and we throw it in a pool, how long do you think inherited money lasts?
18 months.
5 years?
5 years, 18 months?
Maybe?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, AARP did a study, and they said inherited money lasts on average of 8.5 months. Now, why is that? Why is money only lasting 8.5 months? I can tell you, because it's a windfall to somebody. They didn't have to get up every day, 7 o'clock in the morning, go to 1 or 2 jobs, squirrel money away, save it. They just got it it just fell into their lap. How long do you guys think lottery winners hang on to their money? Statistically, 5 years. Lottery winners go broke within 5 years. Why? Because they're outliving their means. They're never had this much money. They didn't have to do anything for it. And the same thing can happen when they inherit money from you guys. Some of you have sons and daughters that save every dollar they've ever made. And on the other side, you've got a son or a daughter that if they had 5 cents, they'd spend 10. So you know how your kids are, but I'm going to show you ways to set it up to where they cannot go spend all the money as soon as you pass away or as soon as they get it. So if we set up a mandatory distribution in the stretch, you could make payments to that individual for instance, you leave them $100,000, and each year you leave them $10,000 a year for, we'll just call it simple math, for 10 years. Okay, I'm going to show you guys what you can do to keep your kids from spending all of the money day one. So stretching out $100,000 at your passing. So if you leave $100,000 to your son or daughter in a lump sum, what do you think the tax ramifications are going to be on that?
20%, 25%.
About $30,000 to $35,000 worth of taxes on that $100,000 that you left them. Because remember, your son is already working for the car dealership, or daughter's a nurse, and they're making $100,000 a year. And you left them an additional $100,000 as an inheritance in the IRA. Now they got to claim $200,000 that year on their taxes. So you didn't do them any favors. You left them about $70,000, $65,000 to $70,000 after taxes. Now what are they going to do with $65,000? That's enough to head down to the Chevrolet dealership and drive out of there with that new Corvette. Or maybe it's not quite enough. So inherited money gets spent so fast that maybe it would be good to put a little blockade in there so your beneficiaries can't go through the money. And I'm going to show you what it can turn into for them. So if you take a 10-year distribution, because that's all that IRS will allow us to do, and for illustration purposes, this return on investment is averaging 5% a year for 10 years. You could leave them $155,000 worth of payments over 10 years, or you can leave them $70,000 today after taxes. If you were to ask them what were they going to choose, would they take $155,000 worth of payments, or would they take $70,000 after taxes? Yeah, they want the money now, right? Yeah, I want my money now. I want to enjoy it now, because today's generation is not like you guys. Today's generation has got to have it now. They want instant gratification. You guys were the savers. You put away for a rainy day. My generation, they go out and buy houses bigger than they can afford. They're always driving a brand new automobile, and they're always trying to outdo the Joneses next door. It's a whole different mindset from your generation. With that being said, setting up a stretch distribution does not have to just be on IRA money. You can set up a stretch distribution on any type of funds. If they sell your house and get $250,000, you don't need to give it to them in a lump sum. You can pay them payments. And why would that, another reason that'd be good? Because how many young people today can go out there and get a job when they retire in 25 or 30 years like you guys did with General Motors, whomever? How many people get a pension when they retire? A defined benefit pension plan? Not anymore. Doesn't happen. So your kids and grandkids, the only thing they can count on is whatever they can save and whatever they might inherit. There are many benefits to doing a stretch distribution, to making sure that your beneficiaries can enjoy their inheritance for many years to come.
I got a question, Todd.
Yes.
My wife, she doesn't have an IRA. Can I put her name on my IRA?
No, if you pass, the question is, can you put your wife's name on your IRA? If you pass away, your wife would be the beneficiary of your IRA. It can become hers, and it'll be your wife's IRA. There's a spousal rollover to her. But you never have two names on any IRA. That's how you know if you have an IRA, right? You could have qualified money or you could have non-qualified money. And non-qualified money, you can put an additional name on there, a joint owner. But qualified money will always be owned by one individual. If you look at your statement and you just see your name up there, you more than likely have IRA money or qualified. And all of it will be taxed at ordinary income tax. If you guys want to get more information about how to convert a 401k, a PSP, or 403b to a stretch IRA, if you check that box, we will get some additional information out to you about how a stretch IRA will benefit you in your situation. So let's talk about nursing homes for a minute, because if we don't fix this problem, we don't have to worry about setting up a trust. We don't have to worry about setting up a stretch IRAs and giving assets away to the kids, because if nursing homes become an issue, that's one thing that can wipe your estate completely out. Number one, who pays in nursing homes? Well, the number one way is you guys are going to get your checkbook out and you're going to private pay your bill. Does anybody know how much it costs right now in a nursing home per month? 4,000, 6,000. Anybody, got anybody? 10,000? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Gentleman in the front, do you have a relative or somebody in a nursing home right now? Yeah. Aunts in the nursing home?
My neighbor spends 4,000. What is that not nursing home care?
No, that's more than likely assisted living. Yeah, they're in assisted living. And Medicaid's not going to cover an assisted living. But, they're able to, they're a little healthier, able to do probably more things for themselves. But private pay is what you're going to do, number one. Number two, you could purchase long-term care insurance. How many people out here have long-term care insurance? Not a single person in here bought long-term care insurance. Why? Why do you guys not have long-term care insurance?
It's too expensive.
Too expensive. That is the number one answer. Don't qualify. You have to medically qualify. You have to be healthy enough to get long-term care insurance. You just can't be on your way to the nursing home and call the insurance company up and get long-term care insurance. But the number one reason people say it's too expensive. It has to financially make sense to purchase long-term care insurance. If you buy it, you need to buy a Cadillac policy. But the biggest problem is right now, all the carriers are getting out of the long-term care business. They're not selling long-term care insurance like they once did. It's not profitable for the insurance companies. You guys are living too long and the cost of nursing homes is too high. Number three, Medicare and Medicaid is another way nursing home expense will be paid. And the Veterans Aid and Attendance. A little while ago, I told you that we had a gentleman in the office that can assist you guys with getting aid and attendance benefit if it is ever needed. Well, here's the numbers that veterans and widows of vets can actually get if they were to qualify for the benefit. So $35,000 if I have a year for veterans benefits for a husband and a wife who are both veterans. About $26,000 for a married veteran, singles, and you guys can see the list there. But if nursing homes are running about $10,000 a month, and I know that's shocking, $120,000 a year, but these are the facts. If the VA is going to pay, say, $15,000 a year toward your nursing home expense, and the cost is $10,000 a month, is that really doing anything for you? Right, about a month and a half's worth of care. Not very much. VA is great for in-home care. It's great for assisted living. It can be good in nursing homes, but the expense is a lot, and VA will not cover all the expense. They will cover, and remember, you have to qualify. When do you pay? Medicare will pay the 1st through the 20th day in full. Does anybody know how to get Medicare to cover your bill? You have to go to the hospital for 3 or more days, and when you're done in the hospital, you get transferred to a rehab facility. You have to meet the criteria. You have to be in the hospital for 3 or more days. They're going to cover the 1st through the 20th day in full. And they're going to cover the 21st through the 100th day with $167 a day copay. Your Blue Cross or your MedSup will cover this $167 a day copay. So best case scenario, you will get 100 days covered in a nursing home. But really the only way to get the 100 days is you have to be in there going to physical therapy and rehab, and you have to be improving. If you're not improving, Medicare is not covering your bill. Your Blue Cross or MedSup is not covering your bill. You will get your checkbook out and you will pay $300 a day while you're in that nursing home. Medicaid pays after your assets are depleted. So for a single individual, if you're single out here and you end up in a nursing home, you get to keep about $2,100. And a married couple gets to keep a maximum of $128,640. So there's a big difference between a single individual and a married couple. Why do you think that is? If you're a single individual, you only get to keep $2,100 total assets, and married keeps $128,000. The reason is because there's no at-home spouse that needs any money. I realize that doesn't really seem fair, but that's the way it works. So you don't just get to keep $128,640 if you're a married couple, though. It's 50% of assets up to $128,640. So I'll tell you what that means. If I have $100,000 in assets, cash assets, we'll just say I have $100,000 in my IRA. My wife ends up in the nursing home. They're going to bust my IRA in half. I'm going to pay the appropriate taxes. But half of it is going to go to cover her long-term care bill. She gets to keep $2,000. So once I've spent down $48,000, Medicaid is going to cover the bill. If I have $200,000, we're going to bust it in half. I keep $100, and basically we're going to spend $100 down on my wife's care before Medicaid steps in and pays the bill. But let's say I'm a little thriftier than that, and I have a little bit more money. I have $500,000. How much do I get to keep if I have $500,000?
$128,640.
Yeah, $128,640, not $250. Most people think, oh, we'll just cut that in half again. So actually, we have somebody out there that's paying attention to the numbers a little bit. $128,640. If you have $1 million, it's $128,640. 70% chance that a married couple, one of them will end up in a nursing home for some time in their life. And 85% of the people that end up in a nursing home eventually rely on Medicaid. So why is that? They run out of money, right? It's very expensive. With the average stay in a nursing home being over 3 years at $120,000 a year, it doesn't take very long to dwindle down your assets. So I am here, and Senior Care is here, to show you how to not be the 85%, but put yourself in the 15% category. We want you to be the 15% that hangs on to their money. And there are absolutely ways to do it. Okay, so these are non-exempt assets. These are assets that have to be spent down. Cash that you have tucked under your pillow or hidden in your gun safe, you have to claim it. Any money in your savings, checking, credit union accounts, your certificates of disappointment, your CDs at the bank that don't pay anything anyhow, you need to cash them in. Your savings bonds, IRAs, 401ks, PSPs. If you have an IRA, it is not protected if your spouse goes to the nursing home. We seem to, that's a misconception that seems to get spread around by individuals that have no idea what they're doing. They tell people, oh, your IRAs are protected. That is completely false. Revocable living trusts. I guess that is another one too, that people often think that I have a trust, I'm protected. That is false. If you have a revocable living trust, you have total control over your assets. You can take them out and you can spend them in a nursing home. Nothing is protected inside your revocable living trust. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, vacation properties. If you have a second property up north, down south, out east or west, it is countable to the nursing home. Assets transferred within the last 5 years. Some of you think, well, I thought there was a 3-year look back. There's a 5-year look back. 3 years, I don't think it's been 3 years in probably 15 years. It's been a 5-year look back. Yes?
I got a question, Tyler. Can't I just give some money away, like to my kids?
Well, In fact, I'm going to cover that right here for you. That's a very good question. Can I just give money away? Can I put kids' names on my checking and savings accounts? The answer is no, you cannot. Because right here it says assets transferred within the last 5 years. If you give money away to your son or your daughter, you get caught in a 5-year look back. So a lot of you think that, hey, how much money can you guys gift away each year to your kids? Not talking about Medicaid plan, we're talking about tax rules. Do you guys know how much money you can gift away each year? $10,000, $15,000, yeah, $15,000. It's always continuously moving it, the scale's going up a little bit. So you can give $15,000 a year away to your son, and you can give $15,000 a year away to your daughter. So you can gift away $30,000. So let's assume that you called your tax guy, and it's very important that you guys have a CPA. Okay? We work with one here in our office, and I encourage you guys, it is very important to have a CPA. So if you gift away the $30,000, this year, next year, and the following year, you've gifted away $90,000. Well, you had talked to your tax preparer, your CPA, and they said, the law says you can do it. You called your financial advisor, and they said, yep, you've done very well. We can take it out of your IRA or your mutual funds or whatever, and we can give the money away to your kids. Wonderful. You called your attorney, and you said, how does this affect my trust if I give this money away? And he says, it doesn't affect it. It's just not in there. You gave it away before you passed away. You can do that. Wonderful. So you ended up gifting away $90,000. In year 4, you have a stroke and end up in a nursing home. Guess what? You'll have to get on that phone and call those kids and ask them if they still have that $90,000 that you gifted them. But you said, wait a minute, Todd, that doesn't make any sense. I called my CPA. You did, and you asked him a tax question, and he gave you the right answer. You called your investment advisor, and your investment advisor says, it's not going to affect your retirement. You go ahead. And you called your attorney, and he said, fine. Well, we found out at Senior Care Michigan that since everybody's not really under one umbrella, one hand doesn't really seem to know what the other hand is doing. So what you guys have is you have a CPA over here, or a tax preparer. You have an advisor over here, and you have an attorney over here, and nobody knows what each other's laws are or what they're doing. And it's not their fault. They didn't give you bad information. You didn't know what questions to ask. And it's very important that you've got somebody you can count on that knows the answers to these questions. Annuities not meeting guidelines. You'll cash them in and you'll spend them down in a nursing home. These are exempt assets, assets that you can keep. Your home in Michigan, it says up to $572,000 in equity. It's actually $603,000 this year in the land it sits on. So if you have $600,000 worth of equity in your house, you get to keep it if you go to a nursing home. Now, in the front of your folders, I put something in there right off the State of Michigan website. It talks about estate recovery. So up here it says, if set up to avoid probate, you get to keep your house. So a lot of question is, well, what does that mean? What if it's not set up to avoid probate? Let's assume I have a will. Let's assume I don't have any assets. And I went to an attorney, and he said, Todd, your estate's not large enough for a trust. Okay, I don't have very much. But I do have this $100,000 house. And I'd like it to go to my kids when I die. So the attorney says, well, why don't we just do you up a quick will? It'll cost you a couple $100, and when you pass away, I'll just run it through probate real quick, and it'll be real simple and easy for you. Okay, we can do that. I trust this attorney. Known him for a long time. I went to church with him. So a couple years after I set my will up, I end up in a nursing home. So I don't have any money, right? The attorney told me that I was broke and I didn't need a trust. So if I'm in a nursing home and I do not have any money, who pays my bill? Yeah, you guys, the taxpayer pays my bill. Medicaid pays my bill. Yeah. So I'm in the nursing home. I don't have any assets, down to the $2,000. Medicaid's paying my bill. I'm in there. It's wonderful. I lived there about 2 years. I die peacefully in my sleep. I got that house. I wanted it to go to my kids. What's the first thing that has to happen with that will? Where does it end up? In probate, right? When my house ends up in probate, Medicaid paid $100,000 or $150,000 of my bill while I was in the nursing home. They're going to attach a lien to that house. My kids are going to get nothing when that house is sold, unless it was set up to avoid probate. So your home is a protected asset from nursing homes as long as it's set up to avoid probate. You guys, what's the best way in most cases to avoid probate? A trust, a revocable living trust. That's the tool to protect your house. So if you were on the fence a little while ago, should I have a trust? Should I have a will? I'm a little confused. I don't know what to go. I don't know if I have enough assets. I should have popped you over the fence right there. Because whether you have a trust or not should not be based on the size of your estate. We've had attorneys come to the seminars and say, oh, I don't tell anybody they should have a trust unless they have $2.5 million. And I've had some come to the workshops and say, we tell them $250,000. I'm not sure how they come up with those numbers. A trust is just a tool for your estate to avoid probate. Even if you have a home, you should consult an attorney and see if it makes sense to have a trust set up. But make sure you're consulting an elder law attorney. Personal belongings and household goods. 1 automobile is exempt from a nursing home. If you have 2, that's a countable asset. Life insurance assigned for funeral expense. If you have life insurance and it has a cash value of $60,000 and a death benefit of $100,000, they're going to use that $60,000 as a countable asset on the amount of money that you're able to keep. So understand that you run the risk, if not set up properly, that you will cash that life insurance policy in and spend it down on your spouse's nursing home care, and you will lose that $120,000 death benefit. Make sure it's set up properly so you don't lose the $120,000 death benefit if nursing homes become an issue. Term life insurance policies, retirement funds and payment, I will cover that. And annuities that are actuarially sound are protected from nursing homes. So I'm going to give you a quick example. John and Mary, John gets $3,000 a month in pension and Social Security income, and Mary was a stay-at-home mom, and she gets $500 a month in Social Security. She gets half of John's Social Security. If Mary enters the nursing home, her $500 is going to go to pay her nursing home bill. John, however, gets to keep all of his $3,000. John gets to keep the $3,000 because it's his retirement funds and payment. It's his pension. So say John worked for the state police and he was getting a pension, he would get to keep that. If John retired from General Motors and was getting a $2,000 a month, he would get to keep that. This is his actuarially sound payouts. It's his retirement. Now, if the roles are reversed, we run into a situation because John can live on $3,000 a month and give up Mary's $500. He can make it. But can Mary make it if John enters the nursing home, which happens often, where the male ends up going into the nursing home? She can't live on $500 a month. So in 1988, Congress passed the Spousal Impoverishment Act, which says they can never leave an at-home spouse destitute. If Mary is the at-home spouse and John enters the nursing home, she gets to keep $1,500, a little over $1,500, to go with her $500, to give her just about $2,100 a month that she gets to keep in pension and Social Security income. So they were used to living on $3,500 a month, and when John went in, Mary got to keep about $2,100 a month. $2,113 to be exact. Can Mary live on $2,100 a month? I don't know. That's why it's important to be able to protect other assets that they may have, because she might need it to live on. So a little bit ago, a few slides back, I told you that certain annuities are created for Medicaid planning, but not all annuities are. There's a big misconception that if somebody has an annuity, it's protected from nursing homes. That's absolutely false. An annuity has to be the right one. It has to be used properly. So not all annuities are created for Medicaid planning. Annuities can be used in Medicaid planning to convert cash assets into income, in some cases resulting for immediate qualification for Medicaid. I want to be clear on this, that a lot of your annuities out there today are not eligible to be protected from nursing homes, right? To qualify as an actuarially sound annuity for purposes of determining Medicaid eligibility, an annuity must meet all of these requirements right here. So the best way to find out if your annuity actually meets these requirements is talk to a senior care specialist at our office. They'll open your contract up for you. They'll be able to determine the language that they see, because it will not say these exact words. You have to be able to interpret what you see in the back to meet these guidelines right here. So I'm going to give you an example of a married couple that is spending their assets down in a nursing home versus a married couple that is protecting their assets. Here's a married couple. They currently own their own home. They have about $357,000 in their nest egg. Husband has a stroke and goes to the nursing home for 3 years. The couple has two options. They could, number one, take their nest egg of the $357,000, and they can spend down for 3 years at $80,000 a year. So if I take $357,000 and the cost, 80 times 3 is 240. So option one, I take their $357,000 and they end up having to spend down $228,600 must be spent down in a nursing home. The at-home spouse gets to retain $128,640. Have we seen this number before? $128,640? A little while ago, I told you guys this is the maximum amount that a married couple gets to keep. So they had $357,000 and they spent down until they reached what Medicaid would consider to be poverty level, $128,640, and then Medicaid picked up the bill. Option two, the person could have used an actuarially sound annuity to protect their assets from a nursing home. Remember, this whole workshop was geared on protecting assets from a nursing home. There are absolutely ways to do it. And one of the ways is to use an annuity that meets the requirements. They could reposition $331,000 of their $557,000 into an actuarially sound annuity. Here's the bottom line. Zero goes to the nursing home. So here's what you guys got to decide. How much money do you want to spend down in a nursing home? It is actually up to you. If you want to go ahead and spend all of your money in a nursing home because you feel that you should, then by all means, I feel you should too. If you feel as though you would rather make sure that there's enough assets to either leave the kids or the at-home spouse needs to be taken care of, then I also believe you're right. I'm here to show you guys that you have options. You don't have to go through and spend all your money down in a nursing home. But you also can't wait till the last second on your way to the nursing home to make decisions. They have to be done ahead of time. You have to get some pre-planning in order. You guys realize there are people in nursing homes with $500,000, $800,000, $1 million, and they're sitting there on Medicaid. And how do you think that's possible? It's possible because they have the right people in their corner to help them out. People that have money know how to hang on to it. People that have money are surrounded by the individuals that know the laws and the rules to protect their assets. And that's what we're here to help you show you how to do. So here's a couple of options for protecting money from nursing homes. You could, when you leave here today, you could call up your kids and you could give your money away. And if you did that, there's a 5-year look back if you gave your money away. We've never had anybody take that option. Number 2, you could purchase nursing home insurance. If you have not purchased nursing home insurance by now, the odds are you're not going to. Number 3, you could protect your money allowed by law using an actuarially sound annuity. Number 4, sometimes setting up an irrevocable trust in the right circumstances is a valid option. So, this here, you have to wait 5 years before Medicaid would pay any of your bill, because remember, there's a 5-year look back. So setting up an irrevocable trust, you will wait 5 years before you can get help from Medicaid. You can use an annuity, and we can get help from Medicaid right away. An irrevocable trust will cost you anywhere from typically around $5,000 to, I know some attorneys charging about $18,000. Attorneys in our office here, well, they're setting up irrevocable trust for around $3,500. So you have to make your own decision. This costs some money to set up. This here doesn't cost anything. There's a lot to cover on protecting assets from nursing homes. I'm just brushing over a few things, trying to get your guys' attention a little bit, trying to cover as much as I can in a short period of time. But if you want to get more information on protecting assets from nursing homes, check that box right there, and some of our representatives here at Senior Care will get you guys out additional information and answer your questions for you. So remember, I told you guys annuities are one way to protect your assets from nursing homes. Using a trust is another way to protect your assets from nursing homes. People in the workshops often want to talk about annuities because they've heard things about them. 70% of the individuals out here have annuities, so I'm going to cover them so you guys know a little bit about it. So when someone comes up to you and they says you should buy an annuity, you know what you're talking about. Or if somebody comes up and says, don't buy an annuity, you can understand where they're coming from, or maybe they have no idea what they're talking about. So how many people in here heard annuities are bad, stay away from annuities? Yeah, right? Depending on which channel on television you watch or which site you pull up online. If you put in there annuities, or if you put in annuities, you may get stuff that say good things, you may get stuff that say bad things. Usually it's just a marketing group trying to sell you an annuity. But I'm going to tell you, if somebody tells you annuities are bad, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're trying to steer you in one direction into their mutual funds or into their portfolios. I'm going to explain them so you can make your own decision whether they're good or they're bad. So there's different types of annuities here. Variable annuities. You could be invested in sub-accounts, which are mutual funds. There's no guarantee on performance. Has service fees, and when I say it has service fees, I actually mean it's loaded with fees. And it may lose value. This type of annuity right here is the one that you hear about all the time, that people say annuities are bad, stay away from annuities. I'd like to tell you, annuities, they have a lot of smoke and mirrors inside of them. They sound really good on the outside, and then when you really break them down, they're not as good as the financial advisor maybe made them seem. Now, this is not all annuities, by all means, but these variable annuities have a lot of riders and things. They're very complex. This annuity, in my opinion, is about the worst investment you can put your money into. This is not protected from nursing homes, but this is the most widely sold annuity in the marketplace today. and they're all pushed by large companies in which you know the names of. If I mention the names of the companies, you see them on your TV all the time. So when you're looking around online and you're seeing annuities are bad, that's the one right there that they're talking about. So here's another type of annuity, fixed annuity. Your principal and interest are guaranteed, gains are locked in. Who has a fixed annuity out here right now? Okay, we've got a couple people. What's your interest rate?
3%.
3%. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? You're getting 3%, not bad. So you're getting 3% in your fixed annuity. How much are bank CDs paying right now? Anybody know what bank CDs are paying? Maybe a 0.5%, 1/4%, 1%, right? Not very much. Well, people think that banks are a good deal. You know, that hey, I got my money over at the bank, it's safe. The bank is using your money and paying you a 0.5% or 1% on your money. The way the bank works on your CD is you go in there and you put your $50,000 in there and they're going to pay you 1%. And when I walk in there and I want to get a loan, they're going to loan me your money and I'm going to go out and buy an automobile and they're going to charge me 4% and they're making the spread on it. So your fixed annuity is paying 3%. Your CD at the bank is paying 1%. You're sleeping snug in your bed at night, getting your 3% on your CD, making 2%
more than I.
Yeah, he's making 2% more than you are. There's no fees associated with that, right there. How can somebody tell you that annuities are bad? Do you like your annuity?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, there's no risk to it. You're not going to lose your money. It's just paying you a fixed rate of return. So this here and this here are complete opposites of each other. So when somebody says, an annuity is bad, what kind of annuity? How does it work? Because just to say an annuity is bad is terrible information. They have their place, they have their time for the right individuals. They're not right for everybody. If you want to make 10% on your money, putting it in a 3% fixed annuity is probably not the best thing for you. But if you're only making 1% on your money, you need to call up his insurance company and put your money with his insurance company and get you an annuity. Here's another type of annuity, fixed indexed. Your principal is guaranteed. That's very important. Your principal is guaranteed. Interest credit when stock index rises. When stock index falls, your prior gains are locked in. So this is for somebody that wants a little more excitement and to get a little more interest on their money. So this is how fixed indexed annuities work. So if I have $100,000 in my indexed annuity and you guys have $100,000 and it's in your brokerage account, let's assume the first year we go up 5%. I make 5% in my indexed annuity, you make 5% in your brokerage account. And the next year, we have a little correction in the market, and we lose 5%. So if we went from 100,000 up 5% and down 5%, how come you guys are not at least back to even?
The fees.
The fees. Well, you're right. If you're in the stock market, in your mutual funds and whatever, you're absolutely going to have fees. I didn't put any fees in my little graph here, okay? But if you make 5% and lose 5%, you're losing 5% of a higher number. So you lost 5% of 105. So you now have 99,750 in your brokerage account, while I still have my 105,000. Because in an indexed annuity, they go up when the stock market goes up, but they do not go down when the market goes down. So I'm going to continue on a little bit here. So when you went down, you had 99,750. I remained the same. Now, I didn't make anything, but I didn't lose anything. The very next year, we went up 5% in the market. So you go 99,750 to now you got 104,000. You don't even quite have your 105 back. I go from 105 to 110,250. The market goes down again the following year. Now you're back to 99,50, 99,500. I don't make anything, but yet I don't lose anything. So in indexed annuities, the point is that you're protected on the downside of not losing your principal plus the interest you made on an annual basis. And when the market is going up, you're participating in the gains. Now, indexed annuities are not too good to be true. And the reason you're not getting shown this stuff by your financial advisors often is because they're trained to put you in the stock market. Over time, if they can charge you fees off from this continuously, they'll make more money by putting you in the stock market than they ever would by putting you in some type of an annuity, fixed indexed annuity, because this actually does not have fees on it. This is full of fees. This doesn't have fees. And another thing is, we're talking about preserving assets. So you're not going to get rich in any indexed annuities. The average return, you make around 4 or 5%. Some years a little better. You might make 15% one year. But for 2 years after that, the market goes down. Well, if the market goes down, you're not going to lose in your indexed annuity, but you're not going to gain anything either if the market's going down. So if the market went up 1 year 15% and down 2 years after that, your average return is going to be about 5%. You're not going to make a ton of money in there, but the important part is you're not going to lose any of your money. So let me ask you guys a question. At this stage in life, what's most important to you? Protecting assets or growing your assets? Protecting your assets. And this is just another tool that you can use. I don't know if it's right for you. I wanted to explain it to you. This can be protected from nursing homes. This here cannot be protected from nursing homes. So you couple in, I've got an annuity that my asset is protected from downside risk in the stock market. On top of that, I can protect the full balance from Medicaid spend down. You've got something pretty nice. Any questions about indexed, any types of annuities? If you guys want to get more information about how to get continued growth through the term of indexed annuities, if you want to know how they work, check that box and we'll go through and explain to you exactly how indexed annuities work and how they would fit in your situation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this entire green sheet with you guys. So if you want to learn how to convert your 401k or PSP to a stretch IRA, check box number 1. We'll get you out some information on that. How many people in here think it's a good idea to have something in place, a plan, just in case if nursing homes become an issue, you should have a plan in place? How many people think it's important? Yeah, that's 100% of you just raised your hand. If you just raised your hand and you think protecting assets from nursing homes is an important and vital part of your estate plan and financial plan, then check that box right there, how to protect my assets. If you guys want to learn about indexed annuities, again, you can check that box right there. If you have a crisis, call me soon. If there's something you want to discuss immediately, we will put you at the top of the list and get somebody to talk with you. If you guys would like to get a free consultation, this is actually the first place I would start. Get your free consultation with one of our senior planning specialists here in the office. He'll then connect you with an attorney if necessary. But we will connect up with you. Either we will do in-home visits. We're very used to coming out and sitting right at your kitchen table. We will, via Skype or Zoom, if you're familiar with how that works, we'll give you a phone consultation, whatever works for you, however you feel the most comfortable. It's just important that we get this information out to you so you can make an educated decision what direction you should go. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Did you guys all learn something?
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad you did. So I'm going to be around for questions afterward. And just feel free to step up or raise your hand. We're going to kind of open up for just some questions, some general questions. So